Joining me to discuss the sell-off and everything going on in markets today and this week, we're joined by Joe Brusuelas. He's the chief economist at RSM, as well as Cory Johnson, Epistrophy Capital Research chief market strategist and the host of the Drill Down podcast. All right, where to begin? We were saying just before we came on, there was a jobs report this morning, which I barely remember at this point.
It's been a day.
It has been a day. It's been a couple of days. Cory, let's just start with the market action overall. What you've thought of the last 2 days, really going back to Wednesday afternoon, because I will admit I kind of came into Trump's announcement and I'm like, he'll say some stuff, it'll probably be fine. And it has felt like Brexit, COVID, a couple different things all tied into one.
Yeah, I think that there was some hope that there was a plan behind this, and the plan might be negotiating tool, lots of threats, then back away. And we've heard some people who know a lot about a lot saying that that's exactly what was going on. Mm-hmm. But what we've seen here is there doesn't seem to be a plan, and the plan seems to be slap tariffs left and right, with the true belief, is just what President Trump told us running for office. He believes the tariffs work. And all the evidence we have from 150 years of economic history is that they don't work, and that they do the opposite of what the intended goal here is. If, in fact, the intended goal is to increase the power of the economy, to increase manufacturing in the United States, I think the market has figured out, wow, this guy really means it. They're just going to they're going to raise inflation, they're going to slow down the economy, they're going to send us running towards a recession, and they don't want to hear from anyone who disagrees with it. And that's where we're at, and I think that's what the market's reflecting right now.
And so, Joe, looking at just the economic impact that we think may come to pass from what we've heard so far, how did you look at it in the initial hours on trying to guesstimate an overall tariff rate or what this would mean for GDP, inflation? Like, how have you looked at what your forecasts and assumptions were and tried to revisit them maybe in the last 2 days?
We thought the effective tariff would end up around 20%. It's 23%. I thought we'd end up with a 12 to 15% average weighted tariff. That's a little under 19%. So in many ways, it landed sort of where we thought it would. But the problem is the execution of it, that nonsensical introduction.
Madagascar?
Yeah, of the formula. These aren't reciprocal tariffs. These are punitive tariffs. And it's the loss of credibility on the part of the administration, the loss of confidence of markets in them, which is what's causing this. They really need to step in and say, hey, we have an off-ramp here. This isn't a leverage negotiating situation. Mm-hmm. Or I love the Dodgers, they bring in the high leverage reliever. They got to get the high leverage reliever off the bench and get it in the game, because we can't go on much longer.
But here's what's different about Trump 2.0, right? Yeah. Is that there aren't relievers there. There aren't different. There aren't. It does not seem that there are voices in the administration, as there were the first time when Trump was president, voices that can disagree, voices that can say, interesting idea. What about this? Everyone's all in the same boat here, and they're all going the same direction. They're all leaning on the same side, if I can stay on that metaphor.
I have to admit, earlier today, I'm like, where's Gary Cohen? And I remembered, oh, that's right, he's not there. Right, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it about the agreement or not, or is it just simply the presence of folks like Gary Cohen, like Stephen Mnuchin, who really had the trust of the market? And right now it feels like there's no one in that administration that an investor can look to and say, oh, okay, that guy's on TV, he'll probably call
We're here amongst friends. Well, this is a Wall Street.
Yes, we are.
We are, right?
Just tens of thousands at home as well.
We all know who Howard is. Yeah. He's not the guy, right? What we need is Besson to step up.
You probably know him as long as I've known him.
Yeah, no, we all know Howard. He's not the guy, right? Keep sending Peter Navarro out on television every morning.
He's not the guy.
You're going to get the same outcome. We really need Scott Besson to step up and play a more pronounced role to calm and soothe nerves, or again, this is just going to continue to go on. You know, we were talking just before we started the show. We're not that far from them stopping trading at this point.
That's right.
That's how far down we are.
Well, we don't have, to get to my point, as we talk about this White House, we don't have a team of rivals. No. Right? We've got a team of sycophants. We've got a team, but they agree very strongly on the same things. And it does seem that a good part of America believes that whatever the White House tells them and really wants to believe that those things are true. And so and we have for lots of interesting reasons, we have a media echo chamber where they're not hearing the voices that everyone else is hearing. And people are hearing the voices that they want to hear. So they're hearing cheerleading from the media outlets they want to be on, from the places on X that they want to be on, from the, you talk about, this is already surgical decisions here. These are the people who celebrate cutting jobs with chainsaws. And there's no sort of notion that nuance is a good thing.
Right. I mean, it was very clear to me when they introduced the Madagascar equation that they have a very low evaluation of what Wall Street is. And we all figured it out within about an hour.
Right.
And we could tell that this just didn't sum up, right? And then that's what really set the tone for Thursday into Friday.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that view on Wall Street, Cory, I want to get your thoughts on what's the level, if there is one, on the S&P or whatever you want to look at, where they may actually cry uncle. Because the biggest change from an investor standpoint in Trump 2.0 is that the stock market is not only the scoreboard, a scorecard as it was used the first time, it is now actively viewed as something to ignore because those guys doing all this that we're looking at on the screen, for whatever reason, are now viewed as the folks who don't understand what we're trying to accomplish.
Look, I think that what's interesting here is, and as I look at my portfolio and I'm looking at the names that I cover as an analyst, and I've done a lot of work in crypto. Right now, that's I'm not suggesting anyone invest in crypto, but I've been saying for the last couple of years that Bitcoin is not in fact a store of value; it is a store of speculation.
That's right.
And so when I look at all of the Nasdaq-y names, the names that I cover in technology, in semiconductor software, data centers, AI, hardware, that those stocks are stores of speculation. You know, I spent the beginning of this week, I don't want to go too deep this rabbit hole, but I spent the beginning of this week at an optical fiber communications conference. And it was as bullish it was a technology conference, it was not a stock conference. But it was as bullish a place as I have been in 20 years. Every company told me they were pushing away orders, they can't get enough money to build their factories fast enough to build this. They're talking about revenues in 3 or 4 years of 400% higher or more. I talked to a CFO of a publicly traded company, told me off the side, says, you'd have to be an idiot not to be in this business and just killing it right now because the orders are coming in the door. Those stocks are down 20% this week.
Yeah.
And it's because they are stores of speculation.
Yeah.
And so right now the speculation is coming out of the market and all the air is coming out of the market right
And the retaliation put to the United States on China today was what you'd expect, goods and rare earths. When we get to the portion of the play where the European Union starts to retaliate.
Monday?
Yeah, probably Monday, maybe
Right.
Tuesday at best. It's going to be the banks, it's going to be financial services, it's going to be airlines, it's going to be tech. And I'm telling you right now, market is not priced that in. They fundamentally think this is just a repeat of 2018.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more damage that could go on here, which again is why it'd be a good idea if in the next hour somebody came out and said something, well, rational, so we can at least calm down because someone's going to have to step
Elon?
up. I'm not
Who's
counting on that guy.
Who's the rational?
I think
who's the rational person in that?
I think we named a couple folks that aren't in the administration right now that I think investors want to hear from.
I think you can put Kevin Hassett over on Fox Business News
We'll
within
see.
the next half hour and calm things down. It wouldn't take much.
Yeah.